Ever heard the phrase, crying wolf? It's a classic warning against telling lies, and it all comes from one of the most famous stories ever told, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. This ancient Greek tale, part of Aesop's Fables, has been teaching us about honesty, trust, and responsibility for thousands of years. Even today, it's a go-to story in schools to teach kids about moral values. But what makes this simple story so powerful and timeless? Let's dive in and unpack the lessons hidden within this classic fable. At the heart of our story are three key characters. First, there's the shepherd boy. He's young, a bit mischievous, and maybe a little too playful for his own good. He doesn't see the harm in a small fib, and is more focused on curing his boredom than on his duties. Then we have the villagers. They represent the community, the social fabric built on trust and mutual support. They are kind, hardworking, and always ready to help one another in times of need. Finally, there's the wolf. The wolf isn't just an animal. It's a symbol of real, tangible danger. It represents the serious consequences that can arise when we're not careful with our words and actions. These three characters come together to create a powerful drama that plays out in the quiet hills of a small village. The story itself is deceptively simple. A young shepherd boy is tasked with watching the village flock of sheep on a hillside. Day after day, it's the same routine, and he grows incredibly bored. To spice things up and get a little attention, he comes up with a mischievous plan. He takes a deep breath and screams at the top of his lungs, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the sheep!" The villagers, hearing his desperate cries, drop everything they're doing and rush up the hill to help him, armed with pitchforks and clubs. When they arrive, they find the boy laughing. There's no wolf. It was all a joke. The villagers are annoyed, but they eventually go back to their work, shaking their heads. A few days later, the boy, feeling that same boredom creep in, decides to do it again. "Wolf! Wolf!" he shouts, even louder this time. Once again, the kind-hearted villagers run to his aid, only to find him laughing at their concern. Now they're not just annoyed, they're angry. They warn him not to play such a foolish game, but the boy doesn't listen. He repeats this lie a few more times, and each time, fewer and fewer villagers respond, until eventually, they stop believing him altogether. His cries have become meaningless noise. Then, one evening, as the sun begins to set, the boy's worst nightmare comes true. A real wolf, large and menacing, emerges from the forest and begins to attack the flock. This is no joke. The danger is real. Terrified, the boy screams for help with all his might. "Wolf! Wolf! Please help! The wolf is here!" But down in the village, the people hear his cries and just sigh. "He's at it again," they say to each other, "trying to fool us one more time." No one comes to help. No one believes him. The boy is left all alone to watch in horror as the wolf scatters and devours his precious sheep. He learns a painful, devastating lesson. But it's far too late. The flock is gone, and so is the villagers' trust. This story is packed with powerful themes and moral lessons that are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. The most obvious lesson is, of course, to always tell the truth. Honesty is the bedrock of all relationships. When we lie, even about small things, we chip away at that foundation. The story shows us that lies destroy trust. The villagers trusted the boy at first, but his repeated dishonesty completely eroded that trust until there was nothing left. A crucial takeaway here is that people won't believe you even when you're telling the truth. If you have a history of lying, trust is like a fragile vase. Once shattered, it's incredibly difficult to piece back together. It must be earned through consistent honesty and protected with care. The boy's biggest loss wasn't just the sheep, it was the trust of his entire community. a loss that would follow him for a long time. To truly appreciate the depth of this fable, let's look at its symbolism. The characters and objects in the story represent bigger ideas. The wolf, as we mentioned, isn't just a predator. It symbolizes the real-world consequences of our actions. It's the moment when the what-if becomes what is. The boy's lies weren't harmless fun. They had a real potential for disaster. And the wolf is the physical form of that disaster. The villages represent society's trust. They are the collective belief system that holds a community together. When the boy lies to them, he's not just fooling individuals. He's damaging his relationship with his entire society. Finally, the sheep. They aren't just livestock. They symbolize the responsibilities we are given. Whether it's a job, a promise, or the well-being of others, we are all entrusted with our own flock to protect. The boy's failure to protect his sheep is a direct result of his failure to be responsible with his words. His irresponsibility led to a tangible, irreversible loss. So, what's the ultimate message of The Boy Who Cried Wolf? It's a timeless reminder that honesty is the foundation of all meaningful relationships and a functioning society. Trust is our most valuable social currency. Once it's spent through lies and deceit, it's incredibly hard to earn back. The story teaches us that our words have power, and that with that power comes a great responsibility to be truthful. It warns us that crying wolf, whether literally or figuratively, will eventually leave us alone and unheard when we genuinely need help. The shepherd boy learned his lesson in the harshest way possible, but his story lives on to teach us to value our integrity, to protect the trust others place in us, and to understand that the consequences of our lies can be far greater than we could ever imagine. It's a simple story with a profound message. Be honest, be trustworthy, because in the end, your credibility is all you have. Thank you so much for watching and exploring this classic fable with me today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more deep dives into stories that shape our world, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comments what other fables or stories you'd like me to cover next. Until next time, stay curious and stay thoughtful.